Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I'm very excited to have Philip Blackett as my guest. And let me tell you a little bit about Philip. Philip Blackett is an author, consultant, and entrepreneur who previously has worked with FedEx, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Chick-Fil-A, and now he's got his Master's of Divinity degree from the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, his MBA from Harvard Business School, and his bachelor's majoring in political science and economics from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Philip has previously been featured as a business leader, Entrepreneur Magazine, and Forbes and LinkedIn, as well as several podcasts. And when Phillips is not fulfilling his purpose, he enjoys reading, cheering on his Tar Heels, and raising his twin daughters with his wife, Myra. And so we're going to talk about one of his topics that's related to a book he has, and it's how to respectfully disagree. So we're going to delve into that conversation. Please join me in welcoming Philip Blackett.
Thank you so much, Vicki. Happy to be here with you.
Thank you. We always start out with an easy question, one that doesn't take time to think about. I kind of gave it away, but where do you call home?
I call Boston home for now. I'm actually in the midst of doing a move where our whole family is moving to Florida soon.
Oh, wow. So Boston, I was going to say Boston from North Carolina to Boston's a kind of a change, and now you're going back to the South. So that sounds like a good plan.
Southerner at heart. That's for sure.
Yeah. The kids will love it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I gave a lot of your accolades and kind of touched on the different parts of your journey from a business perspective, but talk about, this journey for you. That what was it like to go from those different companies, and what did they bring to you to kind of get you to where you are today, doing what you do today?
Yeah, so I think part of it is just going through life, Vicki, where I think as a young adult, you're trying to learn after school, what is it you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
And oftentimes you can look at work almost like a buffet. Some things you try and you say, that tastes good. I like to have more of that. And you try other things, you say, that just doesn't do it for me. I rather not partake in that again. And I think that's kind of the case how I best describe it. Like for me, I worked in different settings. I've worked on Wall Street. I worked in corporate America. I've tried some entrepreneurial ideas of my own. I've bought businesses before. I've consulted and been back to school as far as like graduate in school and that sort. But I think at the end of the day, I think everyone for the most part is trying to figure out what is it that does it for them? What's right for them? What makes them feel most alive? And when you find that actual endeavor, like spend the rest of your life doing what you feel called to do if you can. And so I think I've been really fortunate and blessed to be able to have a number of different experiences and a lot of lessons learned in the process for me to be able to understand, okay, what makes me feel most alive? What do I feel like is my purpose? What is the type of legacy I want to leave when it's all said and done for me? And once I got a good clarity on what that is, then let's focus the second half of my life on doing the best we can and maxing out on that.
Yeah. So I know for me, after retiring, it was my time to say, I know that I don't want to sit at home. So what do I want to do that makes me happy, that still brings purpose in life? I really believe that a lot of, in my 45 years career, a lot of the people that I saw retire early that didn't last long was because they didn't have a purpose anymore.
Mm-hmm. Work
And I
gives
think,
us purpose for sure.
yeah. And when you don't have that, kind of, it's not fulfilling, I think. No, again, there are a lot of people that do find staying at home purposeful, but it's not me, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you wrote the book, Disagree Without Disrespect: How to Respectfully Debate with Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently. So we're going to kind of shorten that a little bit and just talk about how to respectfully disagree. Why did you write that book? What was the catalyst, the driver that said, I've got to put this down?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question, Vicki. I think part of it is the fact that, yeah, even though there's a long subtitle to my book, I think when you boil it down, you talk about the fact that essentially the quality of our lives is often influenced by the quality of our relationships
Yeah.
and the relationships we have with people that we inevitably are going to agree with on a number of different topics.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're going to also disagree on a
Yeah.
number of different topics. And so I don't want people to think that, to have a great relationship with somebody, you have to agree on everything, because it's not true.
Yeah.
And so I think part of it is being able to see, where are the opportunities for us to dig a little deeper, have those type of conversations where we learn more about somebody beyond the surface, beyond the small talk. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think for me, it was something that involved my family around the 4th of July last year, where I invited my sister and her family up here to Boston along with my mother. And so the adults were in the living room. My sister and I were having a conversation. And quite frankly, Vicki, I don't remember or recall what the actual topic of the conversation was.
Well,
All
sometimes they evolve as you go.
all I know was we were on opposite sides of the topic.
Mm.
And so when my sister and I were digging a little bit deeper, my mother jumped in, and not necessarily to pick one side over the other, one sibling over the other, but she basically was trying to officiate it, but without a zebra shirt and a whistle.
Okay. No referee status, huh?
And so basically she said, to paraphrase, listen, it's 4th of July. We got fireworks coming up later on tonight. I have no desire to see fireworks happening in this house right now.
Yeah.
And so while I appreciate her intent behind wanting to preserve the peace, keep a family memory intact that we could look at fondly afterwards, the impact of it, I would say, Vicki, is that I felt like it was a lost opportunity.
Yeah.
It was a lost opportunity for me to get to know my sister better and vice versa, because we're fairly close. We're 22 months apart. We live in different states. We don't see each other often.
Mm.
And, my thought is that in the world we live in today, with social media, smartphones, and text messages, some conversations are better had in person,
Yeah.
face to face.
Yeah.
And I felt like we didn't have that face-to-face conversation.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was something where we couldn't really get to know each other better. Something that was really important to me to share, something that's very important for her to share with me, all because of fear of disagreement and what that would lead to potentially.
Yeah.
And so I thought to myself afterwards, I was like, if that happened to me, I wonder how many other people around the world are probably experiencing something
Yeah.
similar, where there's something that means a lot to them. They want to share with somebody, but because of the fear of the prospect of disagreement and us not being able to respectfully handle that disagreement, they don't share that with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They keep it to themselves. And then family members or friends are surprised that they find something out by happenstance about this person. They say, "Why did you never say anything?" And it's like, I didn't feel comfortable sharing it with you.
Yeah.
I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel trusting of you. Don't take it wrong. But these are the type of conversations that could be had, but we don't, because we have an environment now that if you have a disagreement or difference of viewpoint on any issue now, let alone religion, politics, and money, a difference of opinion on any issue, you run the risk of getting the cold shoulder,
Yeah.
being isolated from loved ones, criticized or cursed out on social media,
Mm-hmm.
or even unfriended, unfollowed, or swiped
Ghosted.
left,
Yes.
ghosted. Absolutely. So what came out to me was like, okay, I want to do my part to help change this, because it wasn't like we just came across disagreement yesterday. This is
Yeah.
something we've had from the beginning of time. It's just how we go about it, the rules of engagement we've lost.
Yeah.
Somehow our parents or our grandparents, we dropped the ball and didn't share that with the kids and the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you handle differences of
Right.
opinions. And so I basically said, hey, what's a simple framework that I can share with people? And once I wrote that down, that enveloped into a book called Disagree Without Disrespect: How to Respectfully Debate with Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently from You.
So what is the 5-step framework?
Sure. So the first step on that is to separate the idea or belief from the identity of the believer. Why that's significant, Vicki, is depending on the issue, depending on the person you talk to about that issue, you might come across somebody that is so intertwined with that issue that it essentially becomes who he or she is.
Mm.
And what's challenging about that is you may have a qualm with that particular issue, but you can't necessarily separate the two. So when you're trying to critique that issue, the other person takes it personal because
Yeah.
they take it as if you're critiquing them.
Mm-hmm.
You're criticizing who he or she is. You
Mm-hmm.
are essentially hating them rather than disagreeing with the issue at hand.
Right.
So you can't hold it against that person in that setting where they take it personal, where they get on the defensive. They're trying to save face,
Yeah.
protect their ego, especially if you're doing this in a public setting. And you might get to a place where it gets real nasty and name calling and aggressive pretty soon into the debate. So that's why it's helpful to do that, to separate the two.
It's interesting as you're just saying that. I was thinking way back before both of our times, when people disagreed, then they would do a duel to the death. Samurais get disrespected. They do things to the death. And so this issue has been around for a long time. So what's
And
step 2?
yep. And so step 2 is essentially disagree with the idea and yet still respect and love the believer.
Yeah.
So this is a play off of what I've learned in church, where we're called to hate the sin and love the sinner.
Mm-hmm.
Because two things can be true, Vicki.
Mm-hmm.
I can respect and love you as a person, as my friend, as my significant other, as my parent, as my child, as my coworker, as my neighbor. And I can still disagree with what you just said.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to change necessarily my respect and love for you as a person. We can still hang out. We can still, go have lunch together or, hang out with the family and that sort.
Mm-hmm.
And we have difference of opinions.
Right.
And so my thought on that is, I would imagine, I've been married for 8 years, Vicki. And the thought that comes in my head is that if for me to be as married as long as I have been with my wife, that it was incumbent upon me that we had to agree on everything.
I've been married 46 years on Sunday. That isn't true.
Exactly, right?
It's not
So,
true.
so if that was the case, Vicki, my wife and I would have never been married. We never would have made it to the honeymoon stage. We never would have made it to the wedding planning stage, because even when planning a wedding, there's things that we disagreed on.
Yeah.
So to your point, especially 46 years, wow, early congratulations. The thought that comes to my head is, I can only imagine the number of times you've agreed and the number of times you disagreed.
That's true.
And the question should come up, why did you stay together despite disagreeing with one another?
That's right. Because the disagreement does not define us as a couple.
And so my thought is, what can we take away from the most intimate and closest of relationships, being with someone for the rest of our lives, let alone 46 years? And how can we apply that in relationships with people who we're not going to spend the rest of our lives with?
Yeah.
So that's what comes up with step 2. You can absolutely disagree with the belief or the idea, and yet still respect and love the believer.
Yeah. What's step 3?
Step 3 is to simply, once you set the groundwork here with step 1 and step 2, we can actually have a debate. We can actually debate the idea at hand based on its merit. And what do I mean by merit? I mean facts, logic, research, analysis, performance, reviews, results. Try to be as objective as you possibly can. Have an apples to apples comparison. Because what I don't want to get involved with is a bunch of name calling.
Yeah, emotional reactions.
Absolutely. Overly emotional reactions, that's not helping us either.
Yeah.
Because I can't really share with you what's on my mind if I'm busy trying to find Kleenex to wipe your eyes, because I simply said, I don't agree with your idea.
Yeah.
And you're like screaming and like all drawn out and that's where, and now I'm feeling awkward. It's like, I don't know what to say now, especially if this is in public. So keeping it strictly just about the issue at hand is very helpful to actually have a debate, because anything else would just distract us and detract us from what we're trying to do. And it gets us away from actually having a debate in the first place.
So what's number 4? We're on?
So step 4 is, once you finish the debate, Vicki, we should go about things the same way we did when we were younger, playing sports. At the end of the day, whether you agree with me or I agree with you, or maybe we agreed to disagree, or maybe some third alternative we weren't even anticipating unless we actually had the conversation together. Regardless of the outcome, when we played sports, win or lose, what did we do as teams?
Shake hands.
We shook hands and we said, good game. Like, that was teaching us good sportsmanship back then.
Yeah.
And I would argue good sportsmanship was needed then, and good sportsmanship is also needed now, even when we're adults. Because no one likes a sore loser.
Mhm.
And no one likes a sore winner.
Yeah. And what's the fifth one?
Last step number 5 is respect and appreciate the other person you just debated with. Even if you still disagree, that's fine.
Mhm.
We value diversity of thought here
Right.
because I believe diversity goes beyond what you look like and what you
Right.
see on the outside. It includes
Right.
what you think, what you
Mhm.
believe in, what you
Mhm.
vote on, right? And so what's important beyond that is keep the door open for continued conversation afterwards
Yeah.
because hopefully we value the relationship with that person more than who's right or who's wrong.
Right. And and I think if you think of those 5 steps, especially the first one of the I think it's called one of the deadly sins is regret,
Mm-hmm.
where if you just walk away, you don't say anything. I'm not gonna ruffle feathers. I'm not gonna cause any issues, but you live with that regret that eats away at you. That it's far better to spend a few moments doing all those 5 steps than having that what if kind of regret.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't always have to be right out there, people. It's okay. It's okay not to be the smartest person in the room.
I mean, last time I checked, people would say if you are the smartest person in the room, you probably need to find a new room.
That's exactly right. You're not being challenged.
And the other part of it I would say too, Vicky, is if we're so concerned about how we look towards another person, as far as we have to be right all the time,
Yeah.
one, that's dealing with our ego
Yeah.
and pleasing our ego so we look a certain way. But it goes to the second point of you're pleasing your ego to the point of trying to perpetuate a lie
Yeah.
because all of us are human,
Hmm.
all of us make mistakes, and we didn't come out the womb knowing everything that we know now. So somebody had to teach us
Yeah.
when we got it right and we got it wrong.
Hmm.
And lo and behold, when we get new information, we should have the right to make a new decision.
Yeah.
So it is possible if someone presents something different to us, we may say, hey, Vicky, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
You're right. But if I never open myself up to be able to say, I can be wrong here,
Hmm.
I'm open to what you have to say, to teach me, share with me, enlighten me, then yeah, you're not going to have those type of conversations with people.
So you say about 3 words that spiritually carried you through foreclosure, heartbreak, unemployment without throwing in the towel and giving it all up, committing suicide. So talk to me about what were those 3 words?
They're the same 3 words that my wife would pray over me before I went to work during one of the toughest times of my life. And it essentially is this: God will provide.
Yeah,
And I think one way or the other, when we're going through our tough times, because I do believe if you live long enough, you
you will
will
go
go
through.
through tough times. Okay.
Trust me, you
I haven't
will.
come across a person that has gone through 40, 50 plus years and not had a slump they went through,
Yeah,
And so I think that the question becomes you're feeling a lot in the moment and you're not really thinking about what you went through in the past. You're not thinking about what potentially could be there in the future. You're just in the moment, the present moment. I'm in a lot of hurt right now
yeah,
that I think for me, having enough faith and understanding that, hey, if I just focus on making the best of what's in front of me today and then try again tomorrow
yeah. Don't give up.
and just keep myself in the race, don't take myself out of the race prematurely,
Yeah,
and just trust that if I do my best and let God take care of the rest, then we'll see what happens from here. And
right,
thankfully, I'm glad I kept up with that piece of advice.
right, right. setting a good example for kids and all those around you. What is the core for FOUR for dream business growth for the entrepreneurs and small business owners that might be watching? Core for.
So yeah, when I think about business owners and entrepreneurs, I think what should be top of mind for anyone that wants to stand the test of time and be sustainable is growth.
Mm-hmm.
I think especially now in times of artificial intelligence, if we don't have a grow or die mentality, then we're really putting ourselves at risk of extinction, of obsoleteness, of a future similar to Blockbuster Video, I would say, if you remember that.
Yeah, we do.
So I think that the core four of dream business growth, two of which, most entrepreneurs and business owners are familiar with, grow sales, grow profits. But the other two, I think, in combination with the prior two, are just as important when you think about the long term. Because at some point you want to think about what do you want to do ultimately with this business you have, and how you want to exit it. Because last time I checked, Vicki, we don't live here forever.
Yeah.
And we're probably not going to work here forever either. So you can't retire and do something else until you end the job you had before.
Yeah.
Which would mean if you have a business, at some point you will have to transition that business for somebody else to steward, unless you're just going to keep working it until your last day. So the two that are more long-term is grow via mergers and acquisitions. And then the last one is grow your exit value. Because if you are looking to sell your business at some point in time, you may have a number in mind that be worth selling. And it may be worth that number now or not. In which, if it's not, don't get down on yourself. See it as an opportunity to figure out, what will it take for me to build value in this business to be worth that number?
Yeah.
And I would say the best time to do that, as far as growing that business and its exit value, it's probably yesterday, if not last year, or 2 or 3 years ago. But the next best time is today.
So it's interesting. Some of the things you just talked about, I think, are areas where you may have to learn how to respectfully disagree. You talked about AI. We know there's a conversation. 2 and 4, there's a lot of fear, I think, of the unknown from a lot of people. So, but also when to exit. Sometimes it's really a disagreement you're having with yourself. And how can you do that respectfully with yourself so that you can make those more strategic and logical decisions and not emotional ones. Well, we talked about a lot of great things today. I do definitely want to have another conversation with you about the topic of AI. I think we can spend some time on that. But for those that are just watching, we're going to go ahead and share my screen that has contact information. If you're just listening, you can go and get this information from my YouTube channel, Vicki Noethling. So please subscribe, as well as my findyourleadershipconfidence.com. So the website is philipblackett.com. That's philipblackett.com. On Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, he's Philip Blackett. TikTok, he's at P Blackett. Twitter is Philip Blackett. YouTube is at Philip Blackett. I'm going to turn it over now to Philip to talk to you about what you can find on his website and those social media sites that he spends the most time in, so you can connect with him there. Philip, it's all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Vicki. I appreciate it. And obviously, for those watching and listening, I try to keep it simple as far as just go by my name, Philip Blackett. For any one of these social media outlets, we'll love to connect with anyone. Definitely you probably see me more on LinkedIn and Instagram than any other ones, but I think at the same time, you can't go wrong with those, along with going on my website, philipblackett.com. And so I think what you'll find there is more information about me, some of the posts I do with some of the books I've written, a couple podcasts that I've launched recently that I'm sharing episodes there too, and just ways to engage with people. Because I think the main thing for me is just to continue trying to have a positive influence and impact on the world around me. Just try to leave this world better than how I found it. And so I think whether it's through my books, my sermons, my dream business makeovers, or podcasts, or just posts just to begin with. That's really the intention behind that, and hope that you can join me, and would love to connect with you there.
Fantastic. Okay, Philip, it has been just wonderful chatting with you. You shared so many great points, and I work with the youth too, and teaching them to be better public speakers. And the reason I love that is because I want to give them the tools that when things come up where there is a disagreement or a difference of opinion, that they'll be confident enough to share their thoughts in a way that is respectful and clear and concise, and using empathy and all those things. So I think that this is a topic. Hopefully all will go out and get the book, Disagree Without Disrespect: How to Respectfully Debate with Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently Than You. Philip, it's been just wonderful having you as a guest today.
Thank you so much, Vicki. I enjoyed our time here together.
Awesome. And as always, I remind everyone that life is a journey, and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling, signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.